Welcome to this week's Deep Dive. We are calling the special edition the Gout Gourmet, and our mission today is, well, it's critical. We are proving that managing your health, specifically, protecting your joints from that excruciating pain of a gout flare, does not, absolutely not, mean sacrificing holiday joy.
Not at all. It doesn't mean giving up delicious food or, and this is the most critical part, your mobility.
That's the crucial distinction, isn't it? For most people, the holidays are all about celebration and, abundance.
But if you're managing gout, the entire season, and particularly that big Christmas feast, can feel less like a joyful gathering and more like you're trying to navigate a minefield.
Right.
I mean, that beautiful traditional holiday spread is, unfortunately, a sort of dietary and metabolic assault that seems almost designed by tradition to send your uric acid levels just soaring.
And we really understand the dread this causes. We hear from listeners every single year who have been completely immobilized.
It's awful.
A single acute gout flare. It doesn't just ruin one day. It can derail your entire holiday week. It can lock you onto the sofa, completely unable to move.
Yeah, and you can't participate in any of the family traditions, the connections you look forward to all year long.
For someone already struggling with mobility issues, that level of pain and immobility is just completely unacceptable. So our mission today is simple. It's targeted. It's powerful. We are going to prevent that pain.
We want you feasting strategically, not flaring in agony.
Exactly.
So we're diving deep into the traditional Christmas meal. Because it's not just a collection of risky foods, it's what we call the perfect storm of gout triggers.
The perfect storm. I like that.
We'll show you exactly why this particular feast creates these metabolic risks, unlike any other time of year. We're going to get a bit technical, talking about the specific mechanisms of, how alcohol and sugar actually attack your joints.
And importantly, we're going to unpack why so many of the traditional food warnings you hear, especially that relentless blame placed on the turkey, are, well, scientifically oversimplified.
They're a distraction. They distract you from the true culprits on the table.
This deep dive is about strategic preparation. It's about identifying the actual villains, and this is my favorite part, giving you 5 genius food swaps and an hour-by-hour game plan.
This is not about surviving the meal with a sad, lonely side salad.
No, absolutely not. It's about arming you with the knowledge to enjoy that Christmas table fully, confidently, and safely. Let's protect those joints and reclaim the holiday cheer starting right now.
Let's start with why the holidays and Christmas dinner specifically create such a unique danger zone for gout sufferers. It really comes down to multiple simultaneous triggers hitting your system all at once.
Okay, so it's not one thing.
It's never one thing. If you combine high purine levels with dehydration, and then you restrict the body's ability to excrete the uric acid, you have a guaranteed recipe for crystallization.
That multi-trigger effect, that's what differentiates this meal from just a regular steak dinner or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's a systemic metabolic pileup. It gives your body absolutely no opportunity to catch up.
So what are the major factors that, stack up specifically on Christmas Day?
Well, you have the obvious ones. Massive portions of high purine foods, often excessive alcohol consumption, and just acute dehydration.
Right, people stop drinking water.
They do. They replace their normal daily water intake with diuretic drinks like coffee, tea, spirits. But then you have the hidden factors, which are just as damaging.
Like what?
We're talking high fructose desserts, sugary cocktails, the physiological impact of stress, which is huge during the holidays.
Oh, for sure.
Poor sleep from all the holiday chaos and, reduced physical activity. You're sitting around more, which means blood circulation is less efficient.
So we're not just talking about the turkey. We're talking about fatigue, high sugar, high purines, dehydration, all conspiring to elevate those uric acid levels right in your joints.
It's a conspiracy.
Let's focus on the purine overload effect first, because that seems like the starting point.
It is, and it's the math that often catches people out. For someone managing gout, a standard daily purine intake should ideally be capped relatively low.
What are we talking about numbers-wise?
Ideally, under 200 milligrams per day to avoid stressing the kidneys, especially if you're not on your rate-lowering drugs. But a typical indulgent Christmas dinner plate.
Okay, paint the picture for us.
We're talking 3 or 4 ounces of meat, plus that rich gravy, some meat-based stuffing, maybe a moderate risk side like peas, and then you follow it up with a sugary dessert. That one plate can easily deliver 600 to 800 milligrams of purines.
Wow. That is triple, maybe even quadruple the advised intake in a single sitting.
In one meal. And that sudden, massive bolus of purines just overwhelms the kidney's capacity to filter the resulting uric acid. That leads to rapid accumulation, and then the crystallization process
The
begins.
body just isn't designed for that kind of rapid influx, is it?
No. The liver and kidneys, they try to keep up, but when that concentration passes the saturation point, which is often around 6.8 milligrams per deciliter of uric acid in the blood, that's when the painful process of crystal formation really kicks off.
So the goal of our strategy today is really to keep that purine load below the breaking point.
That's the entire game.
And when a flare hits, as we've said, it's not just temporary discomfort. It can cause long-term joint damage if it's not managed aggressively.
Not to mention the immediate lost time with family.
Which brings us to the most famous and, as you say, often incorrect culprit of the holiday, the turkey. Let's address that common wisdom head-on.
The common wisdom is simple, right? Turkey is a classic gout food, and so it must be strictly avoided.
Everyone says it.
Everyone does, and this perception is incredibly powerful. It exists mainly because turkey is the centerpiece of the holiday. People just mistakenly assign the cumulative risk of the entire meal, the gravy, the alcohol, the overeating. They just pin it all on the protein itself.
It's a classic case of mistaken identity.
It really is.
You know, I think the myth also persists because historically, people relied really heavily on traditional high purine additions, things like giblet gravy or a concentrated stock reduction.
Oh, that's a very insightful point.
Those often did contain very high levels of organ meat purines. The myth has just kind of outlived the actual practice.
It has. Modern turkey preparation is far less likely to involve large quantities of organ meats, but that warning just sticks around. But when we look at the pure science, the turkey misconception just dramatically falls apart.
Okay, let's counter that popular belief with the actual data. Let's talk purine content, comparing it to foods that are often labeled safe.
The numbers are pretty surprising. Turkey meat clocks in at around 180 milligrams of purines per a standard 3.5-ounce serving.
Okay, 180 milligrams.
Now, hold that number in your head, and let's compare it to proteins that people often consider the necessary safe swaps for gout management.
All right, give us the comparisons. This is where it gets really interesting for the listener.
Okay, so let's look at chicken breast, the standard healthy alternative, right?
The go-to.
Chicken breast is actually significantly higher. It registers at around 220 milligrams per 3.5 ounces.
Wait, what?
Yeah. And pork, another common alternative, is 215 milligrams. Even some white fish, like cod, which is frequently recommended, is at 218 milligrams per 3.5 ounces.
So you're telling me the turkey, the alleged primary villain of Christmas dinner, is often lower in purines than the alternatives many sufferers are switching to, thinking they're protecting themselves.
That's exactly what the data shows.
That is a fundamental revelation. I mean, it proves definitively that the problem isn't the turkey. It's the way the turkey is prepared and, more importantly, the supporting cast on the plate.
Precisely. You could have a lower purine piece of turkey, but if you douse it in high purine gravy and then you wash it down with a beer, the turkey's contribution is completely irrelevant.
It's the surrounding elements that make the meal so hazardous.
Yes.
So let's firmly identify those true culprits. These are the purine ranking tier 1 villains we need to be strategizing around.
Okay, we have to start with gravy. Gravy made from meat drippings is, without a doubt, the #1 concentrated purine culprit on the holiday table.
Why is it so bad?
It is essentially a reduction of all the purines that have leached out of the turkey during the cooking process. A mere quarter-cup serving can concentrate 200 to 300 milligrams of purine.
Just a quarter cup.
Just one ladleful is higher risk than your entire portion of white meat turkey?
So gravy is a concentrated, distilled metabolic disaster.
Absolutely. Second on the list, processed meats. Think about all the little extras that show up.
The sausage and the stuffing.
The sausage and the stuffing, the bacon fat rendered down for flavor, the high purine cured meats like pate or salami that inevitably come out as appetizers. These often contain extremely high purine levels, well over 250 milligrams per serving because of their concentration and processing methods.
And these are often eaten as little nibbles before the main meal, right? So they hit your system when your kidneys are still functioning normally, which just increases the baseline uric acid before the main event even starts.
You're setting yourself up for failure before you even sit down. And then, critically, we have to move to the beverages, the alcohol and the high fructose components, which, honestly, we need to dedicate a whole section to because their mechanism of attack is so complex and so systematic.
Okay, let's do it. Let's move on to the drinks. This is where we need to stop just giving general warnings and really detail the exact scientific mechanisms at play.
Yes.
This is a crucial area because it's where social pressure often leads to, well, a physiological catastrophe.
Yeah.
You said alcohol isn't just a simple risk factor. It attacks your uric acid levels from 4 distinct directions at the same time.
A full spectrum assault. That's the perfect way to put it. It's a coordinated attack, which is why even a small amount of alcohol can trigger a flare when your baseline uric acid is already high from the purine load of the meal.
So we need to understand each mechanism to really appreciate the risk.
We do.
Let's start with mechanism 1. How does alcohol actually increase uric acid production inside the body?
Okay, so this happens primarily in the liver. When your body metabolizes ethanol, the alcohol itself, it requires this massive metabolic effort that involves consuming a significant amount of the energy molecule ATP, adenosine triphosphate.
Right, the body's fuel.
Exactly. And when ATP is rapidly consumed and broken down, its degradation results in the formation of adenosine monophosphate, or AMP. It is the subsequent breakdown of this AMP that directly generates purines as a byproduct.
So the very act of processing the alcohol produces the raw material for uric acid. It is a completely self-defeating process.
It is. More alcohol intake means a higher rate of ATP depletion, and so a higher rate of purine generation in the liver.
And this is why beer is so uniquely dangerous, isn't it?
It is. Beer is particularly bad here because it brings its own purine content, especially darker beers. They can contribute 120 to 180 milligrams of purines, plus the metabolic process that creates even more purines from the alcohol itself. It's a huge initial surge.
Okay, so if mechanism 1 is about creating more uric acid, mechanism 2 is about crippling your ability to get rid of it. Tell us about decreased excretion in the kidneys.
This is so critical because the kidneys are your body's only real defense mechanism against excess uric acid. They are supposed to filter the blood and excrete the excess into your urine.
But alcohol interferes with that.
Alcohol directly interferes with the kidney's ability to perform this essential filtering function.
How does it do that? Is it a physical thing or more chemical?
It's largely a chemical signal that alters kidney function. The byproducts of alcohol metabolism, they disrupt the delicate balance of hormones and fluid dynamics that govern filtration.
Yeah.
Specifically, alcohol intake impairs the function of the organic anion transporters, the OATs, in the kidney tubules. These are like microscopic gates responsible for moving uric acid from the blood into the urine.
And alcohol messes with those gates.
When alcohol is present, these transporters slow down or they become less efficient. It basically slows down the entire removal process, which causes uric acid to accumulate rapidly in the bloodstream, forcing concentrations way up.
So your body is both manufacturing more uric acid and at the same time throttling the system that's responsible for waste removal. That is a truly vicious combination.
It really is.
Now let's move to mechanism 3, which is probably the most intuitive one, but I think it's often underappreciated in its severity.
Dehydration.
Yes. Alcohol is a potent diuretic. It suppresses the release of vasopressin, the antidiuretic hormone, which forces your kidneys to expel excessive water. The result is rapid and acute dehydration.
And why does this matter so much for gout?
Because the concentration of uric acid in your blood is a key factor.
It's the difference between a glass of water with a tablespoon of salt and a shot glass of water with that same tablespoon of salt, right?
That's the perfect analogy.
Yeah.
When you have less fluid in your body, i.e. concentrated blood, the existing amount of uric acid creates a much higher concentration in that blood plasma. So even if the total amount hasn't changed yet.
Exactly. Even if the total amount of uric acid hasn't changed dramatically yet, the concentration passes that saturation point much more easily. And when that oversaturated blood reaches the lower temperature of your peripheral joints, like your big toe, those needle-like uric acid crystals begin to form.
This is why hydration is probably the single most controllable factor in all of this.
It is, without a doubt.
And finally, mechanism 4, the lactate competition. Yeah. This is maybe the most chemically subtle and therefore the most insidious part of the alcohol breakdown process.
It is subtle, but it's highly effective. When alcohol is metabolized in the liver, it produces high levels of lactic acid.
Okay.
Lactate is a naturally occurring compound, but when the levels are high, it enters the bloodstream and it competes directly with uric acid for excretion in the kidney.
They're competing for the same ride out of the body, essentially.
Yeah. Correct. The kidneys have a limited number of those OAT transporters we mentioned available to move waste products out of the blood. When both uric acid and lactate are present, lactate is often prioritized.
So uric acid gets left behind.
This competition effectively pushes uric acid back into the bloodstream. It's a phenomenon known as uric acid retention. This competition further raises your serum levels, regardless of how much water you might think you're drinking.
This level of detail really shows why just one drink can be so devastating compared to just one bite of meat. The drink systematically sabotages every defense your body has.
It does.
So with that in mind, let's rank the Christmas alcohol lineup.
Okay, starting with the extreme risk items, these should be avoided completely. No negotiation. Again, beer is the highest risk because of that double hit mechanism we talked about.
Right.
The other major extreme threat is eggnog with strong spirits. If it uses rum, bourbon, or brandy, this is the ultimate triple threat.
A triple threat.
High sugar from the eggnog base, very high alcohol content from the 40% plus spirits, and high fat, which also stresses the digestive system. It's just designed to overwhelm your metabolic system entirely.
Okay, so that's a definite no. Moving to height risk, these would require a strict limitation, meaning 0 is safest, or maybe a maximum of 1 drink with extreme caution.
This category includes red wine. Despite some minor antioxidant benefits, it has a high enough alcohol concentration to cause significant uric acid retention.
What else?
Also, whiskey and bourbon, neat or on the rocks. That's pure concentrated alcohol, making their uric acid-raising effects very potent via that lactate competition and the dehydration factors.
Okay.
Champagne and hard cider are also high risk. They often combine high alcohol volume with excessive sugar, the fructose, which pushes them right into this category.
And finally, moderate risk. What's in there?
Here we find white wine, which is slightly lower in alcohol than red, and vodka or gin with non-sugary mixers, and I mean club soda, never tonic water or juice.
So the spirit itself is purine-free.
The spirit is, but as we discussed, the alcohol still severely affects excretion and causes dehydration. If you choose this moderate path, your hydration has to be exponentially increased before, during, and after you drink it.
Let's pivot now to the second major overlooked trigger, the fructose factor. When we talk about Christmas, we focus so much on savory purines. But the desserts, the sweet cocktails, even some of the side dishes are serious risks because of high fructose corn syrup and table sugar.
Yes.
Why does sugar, specifically fructose, matter so much for gout beyond just being generally unhealthy?
Well, this goes back to our discussion on ATP breakdown in the liver. Fructose is metabolically unique compared to standard glucose.
How so?
Glucose can be processed by almost every cell in the body for energy, which is a slow and regulated process. Fructose, on the other hand, is almost exclusively metabolized in the liver, and it's metabolized extremely fast.
And that rapid metabolism is the problem.
Yes. When the liver tries to process a large dose of fructose, it essentially overloads the system. The pathway for fructose breakdown forces the rapid consumption of ATP in liver cells, leading to ATP depletion.
Just like with alcohol.
Just as we saw with alcohol.
Yeah.
The subsequent breakdown of that depleted ATP causes a direct, immediate, and massive spike in uric acid production. And this effect is strongly dose-dependent. The more fructose you consume, the faster your body generates uric acid as a byproduct.
So if I understand this correctly, consuming a can of soda or a massive sugary dessert is metabolically similar to consuming alcohol in that it forces the immediate production of uric acid, completely independent of any purine intake from food.
Precisely. It's a different chemical pathway, but the end result is exactly the same: increased uric acid generation.
And where are we finding these high fructose traps hiding at Christmas?
They are everywhere you look for sweetness.
I can imagine.
Think about the ubiquitous, often canned cranberry sauce. If it contains high fructose corn syrup, you are turning a low purine fruit into a major metabolic trigger.
Right. And the sweet potato casserole.
The one topped with marshmallows and brown sugar, a huge hit of fructose. Then you have the entire spectrum of sugary cocktails, flavored lattes, cookies, holiday candies. Even fruit-based desserts, if they rely heavily on added sucrose, which is half fructose, become a significant risk factor.
What's the clinical relevance of cutting fructose? I mean, does managing sugar really give us a safety margin big enough to matter?
Oh, absolutely. The research on this is some of the most compelling in gout science. Studies show that aggressively reducing high fructose intake can lower your serum uric acid levels by 1 to 2 milligrams per deciliter.
1 to 2 points. That's huge.
For someone who is chronically hovering around that acute gout threshold, that 6.8 milli-GDL mark, that 1-2 milli-GDL reduction is monumental. It can genuinely be the functional difference between pain-free joints and being crippled for a week.
So the fructose factor is powerful enough that it has to be managed with the same rigor as purine intake.
Exactly the same rigor.
Okay, we've thoroughly diagnosed the problem. Now let's pivot to the solutions. the actionable, delicious strategies. This is the heart of the Gout Gourmet.
This is where we prove that strategic cooking means elevating the holiday meal, not diminishing it.
We need to dismantle this idea that managing gout means eating bland, boring food. We're offering 5 genius swaps that are not just safe, but often superior in flavor, texture, and sophistication to the high-risk originals.
We are trading purine density for flavor complexity. We're protecting your joints while still providing all the comfort and complexity of the holiday meal.
Okay, let's start with the biggest purine villain we identified. Swap, #1, the gravy replacement. We established that traditional gravy concentrates 200-300 milligrams of purine per quarter cup. That has to go. What is the Gout Gourmet solution?
The solution is the herb-based reduction. You want the texture, the mouthfeel, and that savory, rich flavor without the concentrated meat purines. Our recipe hinges on depth of flavor achieved through slow reduction.
So you start with a good base.
You start with a robust, low-sodium vegetable broth, not water.
And how do we build that complex, savory background flavor that you get from drippings?
We use a small amount of white wine, a quarter cup max, because the alcohol cooks completely off, leaving just the acidity and flavor depth. Then you heavily infuse it with aromatics, roasted garlic, fresh herbs like thyme, rosemary, and sage.
The traditional holiday flavor backbone.
Exactly. Simmer this slowly, reducing the volume by about 1/3 to concentrate those flavors naturally. And then finally, you thicken it with a simple cornstarch or arrowroot slurry to get that luxurious gravy texture.
Now, describe the finished product. Why would a traditional gravy lover even accept this?
Because it hits all the same sensory notes. It's warm, it's savory, and it's incredibly aromatic from the fresh herbs. It provides that essential moisture for the turkey, and the reduction technique ensures a thick, dark appearance and a rich, mouth-coating texture.
And a purine content.
Crucially, this drops the purine content from 200-300 milligrams down to approximately 20-30 milligrams per serving. You eliminate the single biggest risk factor on the plate while delivering true, complex flavor.
Genius Swap #2 tackles stuffing modification. Traditional stuffing is a hidden purine bomb, right? It often contains sausage, bacon, or giblets, pushing it to 150-200 plus milligram per cup.
That's huge risk.
So how do we keep that essential comfort food feeling?
We shift completely to a vegetable herb stuffing. The key is not to think of it as meatless, but to think of it as herb forward.
I like that.
You still use day-old bread cubes for texture, sauté plenty of diced celery, onion, and carrots in olive oil, or a small amount of butter until they're translucent and sweet. Then we introduce mushrooms.
Mushrooms are okay.
They are a moderate purine food, but manageable in this context, and they are critical for getting that meaty umami flavor. You cook them down completely. Instead of meat broth, we use vegetable broth, and we load it with heavy pinches of sage, thyme, and rosemary.
So the aromatics in the sautéed vegetables provide that deep, satisfying flavor complexity that people mistakenly think only comes from meat.
Exactly. And you drop the purine content down to about 30-40 milligrams per serving by just eliminating the sausage and bacon. It's flavor engineering that delivers holiday comfort without the metabolic burden.
And you're right, it's probably better. It's lighter and lets the herbs shine.
It really is.
Okay, Swap #3 is our featured protective dish. The Celebration Cherry Quinoa Pilaf. This is where we replace traditional high purine sides, like peas or those heavy high-fat casseroles, with something that's actively protective.
This pilaf is the definition of gout gourmet. It's a nutritional powerhouse that is completely safe, highly festive, and it's visually stunning. We use quinoa, which is very low purine, only about 20 milligrams per serving, and we cook it in vegetable broth.
And what's the protective component in this?
We integrate dried cherries. This is critical. Cherries contain high levels of anthocyanins, which are potent anti-inflammatory compounds proven to help reduce flare risks and potentially even lower uric acid levels.
So it's not just safe, it's helpful.
It's actively helpful. We combine the quinoa and cherries with vibrant elements. Dried cranberries, pecans for crunch, finely diced red onion, a touch of balsamic vinegar for tang, and orange zest for brightness.
That sounds absolutely delicious and honestly visually superior to a heavy beige casserole. It replaces the density of risky side dishes with something complex, protective, and vibrant.
It looks beautiful, it tastes incredible, and it provides great textural complexity. And by using quinoa, you also ensure the meal contains sufficient protein and fiber, making it filling enough that you're less tempted to overeat the risky stuff.
Okay, next let's optimize the centerpiece itself. Swap #4. Turkey preparation optimization. If the turkey isn't the problem, the way we cook it can be. High-temperature roasting concentrates purines and often dries out the meat. What's the gout-safe method?
We use the low-temperature herb brined turkey method. Brining is the single biggest step you can take for a better, safer turkey.
So what does that involve?
You submerge the turkey in a solution of water, salt, a small amount of sugar, and fresh herbs for 12 to 24 hours. The osmosis process prehydrates the meat. This is protective in two ways.
Okay.
One, it results in much juicier meat, and two, a higher water content means a lower purine concentration per ounce in the meat and, crucially, in the resulting drippings.
And the low and slow roast technique.
Right. We roast at a lower temperature, ideally around 325 degrees Fahrenheit, for longer, approximately 13 minutes per pound. This gentler, slower cooking process further prevents excessive water loss and reduces purine concentration in the drippings compared to high-heat methods.
So you're ensuring optimal safety and, frankly, optimal flavor and moisture.
They get a better bird all around.
Our final swap #5, festive non-alcoholic beverages. This addresses that very real social and emotional problem of feeling isolated or deprived when everyone else has a celebratory drink in hand. We need sophisticated adult options.
Yes. We have to move far beyond feeling forced to drink plain club soda. The strategy is to position these as new holiday traditions that everyone wants to try, not just gout-safe drinks.
So we need complex, layered flavors.
We do.
Number 1 on your list, spiced apple pomegranate punch. What makes this special?
Pomegranate juice is excellent because it's anti-inflammatory and it's vibrant. We combine it with high-quality apple juice, sparkling water, and then we simmer it with warm spices like whole cinnamon sticks, cloves, and star anise. Serve it in elegant glassware.
So it feels celebratory.
It provides a complex, warm flavor profile that feels instantly celebratory and is minimal purine.
Okay, number 2, herb-infused sparkling cider. This sounds very high-end.
It is elegant and so easy. You take sparkling cider, which is already low risk, and you just infuse it overnight. Add fresh rosemary and thyme sprigs along with thinly sliced orange and apple wheels. The herbs just elevate it instantly,
Giving it a sophisticated botanical note.
It makes it feel artisanal and special.
And number 3, virgin mulled wine for tackling that deep red flavor profile.
For that deep, satisfying warmth, without the severe alcohol or purine retention issues, you just simmer red grape juice, which conveniently contains the beneficial antioxidant resveratrol with traditional mulling spices.
Cinnamon, cloves, star anise.
The whole 9 yards. It delivers the warm, comforting aroma and deep flavor of mulled wine, but safely. Having these options means you can participate fully in the celebratory toasts and feel integrated into the party.
Recipes are only half the battle, though. To successfully navigate this perfect storm, you need an hour-by-hour strategy, starting long before Christmas morning.
This is crucial for both the gout sufferer and any caregiver who's helping them manage the day's risks.
Let's focus intensely on the pre-Christmas strategy, that week before. This is where we build the safety net. What medical and nutritional prep should be absolutely locked in.
Medical prep is non-negotiable. If you haven't recently, schedule a uric acid blood test now to understand your current baseline. If you're already elevated, the risk is much higher.
And talk to your doctor.
Consult your rheumatologist immediately. You must discuss if a temporary adjustment to your urate-lowering medication, like allopurinol, is necessary for this period of increased risk.
And what about emergency medication?
Critically, you have to know if you should have acute flare prevention medication like colchicine or a strong anti-inflammatory on hand and ready to deploy if needed. Do not wait until Christmas Eve. Have the prescription filled and ready to go.
And on the nutritional prep side?
Plan the entire holiday meal menu, even if you are just a guest. Identify the high-risk dishes immediately. If you're attending someone else's home, offer and insist on bringing a gout-safe dish.
The cherry quinoa pilaf or the vegetable stuffing would be perfect.
Perfect for sharing. They guarantee you have a safe, delicious anchor for your meal. Prepare your genie swaps ahead of time.
Let's address communication. This is the sensitive, sometimes difficult part of managing family pressure.
You need prepared responses. You have to know exactly what you will say when someone offers you a high-purine food or questions your choices. Practicing this response in advance makes the actual social moment much less stressful and way more effective.
Let's role play this a little. What if a persistent family member says, "Oh, just a little bit of my famous gravy won't hurt. Come on, it's Christmas."
You need to be firm but appreciative. You could respond, "I truly appreciate the offer, and I know your gravy is amazing, but my doctor was extremely clear with me. Even a small amount can trigger a week-long flare, and I refuse to spend Christmas immobilized.
That works because it leverages the authority of the doctor, not just your personal preference. It shifts the pressure away from you.
Exactly, and then you immediately redirect the focus. I'm sticking to the herb reduction I brought. You should try it. But tell me about how you managed to get those perfect crispy edges on the turkey.
Re-engage socially, but remain firm on the boundary.
Yes.
Now, the actual day, Christmas Day, morning and midday.
Hydration is the backbone of the entire day, and it starts the moment you wake up. Drink 16 to 20 ounces of water immediately. Ideally with a squeeze of lemon for that alkaline boost we'll discuss later.
And what's the total goal for the day?
Your goal for the day should be 100 plus ounces of water total. This ensures your urine stays dilute, making it harder for uric acid to crystallize. And, of course, take your prescribed medication exactly as scheduled.
And let's reiterate that crucial warning about fasting.
Do not fast. Fasting or extreme calorie restriction is a known flare trigger. It disrupts your metabolism, causing the body to break down its own tissues for energy, which can temporarily spike uric acid levels.
So eat a good breakfast.
Eat a small, low-purine breakfast egg whites, fruit, low-sugar oatmeal to keep your system steady. This also helps you avoid reaching the main meal starving, which just encourages overeating.
And what about activity?
Plan for light activity. A short walk or some gentle stretching helps maintain circulation, which is vital for preventing crystal settling in the joints.
Now, the ultimate test, the dinner strategy itself. Let's break down the perfect gout-safe plate construction.
Okay, step 1, plate construction. You have to load your plate strategically and visually. Fill half the plate fully, 50%, with those Tier 3 safe, alkaline filling foods first.
The vegetables.
The roasted vegetables like Brussels sprouts, carrots, salads, and your cranberry cherry pilaf. They are low purine and physically filling. Then add your protein. 3 to 4 ounces of that white, brined turkey meat is the safe choice. Finally, add your gout-safe sides like the vegetable stuffing.
The strategy is really psychological, isn't it? You're ensuring the safe, filling, protective components dominate the plate before you even look at the high-risk items.
Precisely. Step 2, minimize risk. This is the elimination round. Skip the high purine gravy entirely or use your herb reduction swap. Pass completely on processed meats, any pate or seafood appetizers.
You have to be vigilant.
Remember that small additions of high purine foods like anchovy paste or even certain stock cubes can be highly concentrated and devastating.
Step 3, pacing. This is so important, but it's often forgotten in the rush to the meal. Why does eating slowly matter for gout?
When you eat quickly, you introduce a massive purine load into your system almost instantaneously. Your liver and kidneys can only process waste at a certain rate. We have to respect that processing speed.
So slow down.
Aim for 20 to 30 minutes for the entire meal. Put your fork down between bites. Engage in conversation.
And what about the concept of stopping when you're 80% full?
When you eat past the point of satiety and you feel stuffed, your body has to divert massive energy and blood flow to digestion. This systemic stress just exacerbates the effects of all the other risk factors already present.
So it adds to the pileup.
It increases the immediate metabolic purine load and it strains the liver. Stop when you are 80% full, not when you feel physically uncomfortable. Overeating just burdens the system and increases your risk.
And the beverage strategy during the meal.
Follow the strict rule. Water for every festive drink. For every serving of wine or your non-alcoholic swap, consume a full glass of water. Stick rigorously to the non-alcoholic swaps we discussed.
And if you must, drink alcohol.
If you must, limit yourself to a maximum of 1 serving of white wine consumed with food and copious amounts of water. 0 beer, 0 spirits.
Finally, the post-dinner strategy. The battle is not over once the plates are cleared.
Not at all. Gentle walking after the meal is excellent for digestion and promotes circulation, which helps prevent crystals from settling in your joints.
And keep hydrating.
Continue aggressive hydration, another 20 plus ounces of water over the next few hours. Avoid lying down immediately after eating. And the crucial element here is the bedtime strategy.
Okay, what's that?
Drink a final 16 ounces of water about 1 to 2 hours before bed. This is vital because urine concentration naturally increases overnight, which is a critical period for crystallization. Dilute urine minimizes this risk while you sleep.
We've covered the practical strategies in the metabolic science, but let's connect this to the bigger, more subtle science. Advanced protection. We need to discuss the role of alkalinity and pH.
Yes, this concept is so crucial for our listeners.
Why does alkaline urine matter so much when we're managing uric acid? Can you explain the chemistry simply?
I can. Uric acid is a weak acid.
Yeah.
And like all weak acids, its solubility, its ability to dissolve in water, is highly dependent on the pH of the surrounding solution.
Okay.
Uric acid dissolves much, much more easily in alkaline, which is a higher pH urine, than it does in acidic or lower pH urine.
So by shifting the pH of our urine upward toward alkaline, we're giving our kidneys a massive assist.
A massive assist. We are changing the internal environment from one that encourages crystallization to one that actively promotes dissolution and easy excretion.
And if the urine is acidic?
If the urine is acidic, the uric acid stays in its undissolved crystalline form. This can lead to kidney stones or put pressure back on the serum levels. If the urine is alkaline, the uric acid remains dissolved and is just flushed out smoothly.
So tell us what counts as an alkaline food that helps this process.
Fortunately, our Genius Swap strategy naturally promotes alkalinity. Most vegetables, your Brussels sprouts, carrots, green beans, potatoes, are metabolized into alkaline residues.
What about fruits?
Citrus fruits, paradoxically, are metabolically alkaline once they're digested. So are berries and almonds. Focusing heavily on these colorful, low-purine foods gives you dual protection, low purine intake, and increased excretion efficiency.
And the acidic examples we need to limit.
Red meat, organ meats, high fructose foods, and alcohol all produce acidic metabolites. They lower the urine pH and make uric acid much more likely to crystallize. By prioritizing the low purine, high vegetable swaps and limiting the heavy meat and sugary drinks, we are gaining both a metabolic advantage and a chemical advantage.
Let's touch briefly on supplements. We need to be very clear that these are protective tools and not replacements for prescribed medication.
Precisely. Supplements are contextual tools, not a cure. We focus on two key science-backed areas. First, vitamin C. Numerous long-term studies suggest that 500 to 1,000 milligrams daily may correlate with lower serum uric acid levels by increasing excretion. It's an easy, low-risk boost.
And the second one.
Cherries and cherry extract. The anti-inflammatory compounds, the anthocyanins, are proven to help reduce flare risk, possibly by inhibiting an enzyme involved in uric acid production.
And we integrated this naturally into our pilaf recipe.
Which is always the most delicious way to incorporate protective benefits.
Now, let's address what many listeners tell us is the hardest part: navigating social dynamics and family pressure. This is the mental toll of managing gout at Christmas, and this is where caregivers can be invaluable.
It truly is the biggest non-food trigger. The social pressure that friend or family member saying, oh, just a little bit won't hurt, you're ruining the fun, is a powerful driver of stress and poor choices. You have to treat this interaction like a boundary, not a negotiation.
So we need to arm the listeners with specific, clear responses that maintain relationships while protecting their health.
The best responses are clear and deflective. We already discussed the doctor-based response. Another good one is, I'm focusing on having a pain-free Christmas this year so I can enjoy everyone's company for the whole week, and that means sticking to my plan.
And then you redirect.
But please tell me about your new job. Redirect the focus immediately to the other person and the social aspect of the gathering.
That reframing is so powerful. You're not saying I'm on a restrictive diet. You're saying I'm protecting my ability to enjoy this holiday and spend quality time with you without being immobilized.
You are modeling healthy self-advocacy, and you're teaching your loved ones how to support you. And remember the hidden benefit. By forcing yourself to make these strategic, gout-safe choices, the food you end up creating is often of a higher quality, more interesting, and more inclusive for guests with other dietary needs. You elevate the entire meal.
Finally, the worst-case scenario. Even with the best planning, sometimes a flare occurs. What is the emergency protocol for Christmas Day?
You must have a pre-packed protocol ready to go. The immediate response is crucial. Rest the affected joint, elevate it, and apply ice wrapped in a cloth for 15 minutes, never directly on the skin.
And medication.
Immediately take your acute flare prevention medication, whether it's over-the-counter anti-inflammatories like ibuprofen or naproxen, or your prescription colchicine as directed by your physician, and drink plenty of water, a large glass, every hour.
What's the key mindset shift if, despite all this preparation, a flare hits?
Do not view a flare as a failure. A flare is painful, yes, but it is also powerful, painful feedback. It tells you exactly what threshold you crossed. Maybe it was a combination of 3 moderate risks instead of 1 severe risk. You have to use it to learn for future adaptation.
And when do you call a doctor?
If symptoms persist beyond 6 hours, or if the flare is unusual or exceptionally severe, contact your rheumatologist immediately. You should never try to work through the pain. That only prolongs the agony and increases the risk of permanent joint damage. Rest, manage the inflammation, and adapt the strategy for next time.
We've covered comprehensive ground today, moving from the systemic four-pronged attack of the holiday feast to the strategic plan to overcome it. We debunked the turkey myth, armed you with 5 genius gourmet swaps that promise flavor without the flair, and laid out an hour-by-hour game plan emphasizing hydration and alkalinity.
Success in gout management during the holidays isn't about achieving perfection. It's about conscious preparation, strategic choices, and protecting your health while participating fully. By making these changes, you are modeling healthy choices for everyone else and proving that the meals you create can be superior and more inclusive. You absolutely deserve to enjoy your Christmas fully and comfortably.
If you found these strategies helpful, especially those genius swaps and the deep dive into the 4 mechanisms of alcohol, please subscribe to The Deep Dive, Gout Gourmet wherever you get your episodes, and come back next week for more actionable health and food intelligence.
Protect your joints, celebrate your health, and remember the bigger picture.
This Christmas, you can have both, the celebration and the comfort.